Well, when a book becomes a movie, there is always something that you miss and something that is added to the story at the end. So, what's your opinion?
I think the main thing that a movie maker has to do when you're producing a film that's based on a book is take the essence of the book and take the morality of the book and the principles of the book and then tell that story. And obviously you're going to lose some of the complexities of the story. In many instances you lose the sense of time because you've got 90 minutes rather than 200 pages or 300 pages or 400 pages. But I think what we're trying to do with Kensuke's Kingdom is take the really fundamental issues that the book addressed, which are as relevant now as when it was written nearly 20 years ago, and make that story come to life on screen. So I think we can do it. One of the great advantages is Kensuke's Kingdom. The book is quite short. You can probably read it in 3 or 4 hours. It's a relatively simple story about a boy and an old man and a group of animals that live on this extraordinary island. So the fundamentals are simple. It's not like adapting Tolstoy, where you have this incredibly complex cast of characters and narratives. This is a very singular story.
So, people often say that the film is good, but the book was better. Have you ever seen movies that were better than the original book?
It is unusual, and as I say, I think it's partly because narratives in books can be so complex and authors can play with time. The two that I was thinking about just now, one was Brokeback Mountain, and interestingly that was literally a short story. It was a 15-page story, and I thought the film had extraordinary sophistication and complexity in it. And then possibly the other one would be No Country for Old Men. Again, a really simple story, beautifully told by the Coen brothers, where I didn't feel I missed anything. Other Cormac McCarthy adaptations have failed terribly because I'm a huge fan of his writing. But those two films would be examples. I'm sure there are many others, but those two spring to mind.
Do you agree with the sentence that often people say that books are better than the original?
Sure, and I think, again, there are lots of reasons. I think I do agree with it. It's my experience of often going to the cinema is why? Why did you bother to adapt the book? And I think it's difficult because when you read a book, you have such a personal relationship with the narrative, and in your own head you are envisaging what those characters are like, what they look like, how they sound, and so often when you see it on the screen there's a disappointment. I mean, maybe you just think that's not how I ever imagined it. And interestingly, I think that's why animation is a very interesting medium to try and tell a story, because although the look of it is very specific, we're entering an unreal world. We're not saying this story is set in this particular place, in this house or on this boat. We are creating an entirely imagined landscape. And I think it kind of gives you greater flexibility in telling stories. And I believe and hope that people therefore will travel with you on that journey.
So the book Kensuke Kingdom is becoming an animation movie. So how was the relationship between the original writer and the producers?
I'd actually known Michael before I got involved. I'd done some other films with him to do with the London Olympics, so I got to know him very well, which he had written and I had adapted into screenplays. I think what we've done is, and he's talked about this a lot, we work with a screenwriter called Frank Cottrell-Boyce, who's one of the best in Britain. And I think Michael respects that his craft is different from Michael's craft. So there isn't an overlap, but we consult with Michael all the time. We've shown Michael everything we've done. Michael and Frank have talked a lot about this thing about the essence of a story. But the detail of how the story is transposed from prose into a screenplay is mine and Frank's job to do. And as I say, while we'll tell Michael what we're doing, I think he respects that it's a different job.
So last question is about your impression about this event, this market for audiovisual industry.
I think I said to you, I have to be very honest. I arrived on a hideously early flight this morning and I have to fly back tonight. So my impressions are first impressions. It seems to have a fantastic atmosphere. I mean, I love the location. The people are certainly very friendly, but it's been very professionally organised. All the arrangements to come here, the reason why we're here, the meetings that have been arranged for us while we are here, are really impressive. So I love it, and I wish I could stay longer.